This is Open Line.
Yeah, I mean, it's not too bad. I mean, it should be okay. I'm not too worried about it, really. Don't worry about it. I'm not worried at all.
Have questions about Heidelberg and Mannheim installation closures?
Will Wiesbaden see an increase in facilities to support all these new people?
How do the Heidelberg and Mannheim installation closures affect us here in Wiesbaden?
Get them answered by the experts.
It isn't every day somebody moves into a new house.
Call DSN 389-4595. Open Line starts now.
You do a lot of moving in the military, but closing major installations like those in Mannheim and Heidelberg come less often and with special challenges. How do you gradually reduce services? How do you make room for new units in Wiesbaden and the Kaiserslautern military community? Well, the answer to those and other questions are coming your way this morning on Open Line. With me in the studio, United States Army Garrison Baden-Württemberg Commander Colonel Bill Butcher, United States Army Garrison Commander Lieutenant Colonel Lisa Griffin, and also from the USAREUR Public Affairs Officer Bruce Anderson. I'm George Smith. Well, Bruce, I think a good place to get started is with you from USAREUR Public Affairs. An announcement was made June 23rd on the transformation of the Army in Europe, and in general, installations in Mannheim and in Heidelberg are going to be closing, and this is going to affect other installations here in Europe. Sum up that announcement and what it means to people and why they should care.
Good morning, George. This is the next step in USAREUR's transformation, the process that started in 2003. Between now and December of 2015, we plan to close 22 installations in the Heidelberg and Mannheim area and one in Gießen. Most of the units, actually all of the units in Heidelberg and Mannheim throughout this process will leave this area. Some will transfer to other places in Europe, some will transfer to the United States, and some will inactivate. My headquarters U.S. Army Europe, is expected to begin its move in fiscal year 12 and finish in October 2014. The process is event-driven and depends on congressional approval of future construction, host nation notifications, and operational commitments. And one thing that's important to remember about this consolidation in Wiesbaden of our headquarters will improve command and control, it will improve force protection, and it will save money by allowing us to close Darmstadt, which we've already moved people out of, close Heidelberg and Mannheim.
Okay. Colonel Bill Butcher, United States Army Garrison Baden-Württemberg Commander. So you had a town hall meeting to talk to soldiers and their families about the move. How's your community taking the news?
Well, I think the community's taking the news exceedingly well. I mean, you know, George, as we know, that there have been rumors in our communities for some time, both Mannheim and Heidelberg, about closure. What notification has provided us is an opportunity to be upfront and frank and open with our community members. And during the town hall meeting hosted by Brigadier General Smith, what we saw was very logical and tempered questions from our community members who certainly have concerns for how the closure will impact them, but no outright fear or struggle based off of our willingness to be communicative.
If you had to sum up what the Heidelberg-Mannheim move means to people in a few sentences, how would you word it?
Yeah, I think the most important thing to say here, George, is, as we've been saying from the start, this is a gradual process that will happen between now and 2015 across these 22 installations, as Bruce discussed briefly. Most importantly, we are committed throughout this process to take care of soldiers, civilians, and family members, and our local workforce. Whether you're a soldier that's just arrived here in Germany or you're an employee that's worked for us for 30 years, we're committed to you and continued commitment to providing excellent services for your families throughout the process. And probably more important than that, we're committed to communicating with you. You know, we've set up a transformation web page that can be found on both the USAG Baden-Württemberg and USAG Mannheim home pages, where community members can bring both get information and provide questions to us relative to anything dealing with this closure.
When you were at that town hall meeting, any surprises, anything you heard that you went, woo, hey, well, where'd that come from?
Well, I'll tell you what I was a bit surprised about is the logic in the questions. We had one young soldier who asked about the impact of TKS. You know, our soldiers, like our family members, get phone service and cable service, and one of the questions that quite frankly was very pertinent from a young specialist was, what are you doing to make sure that we as units aren't impacted, young soldiers aren't impacted with additional costs when we move from this location to another location and have to, do reinstallations of our cable service or reinstallations of our phone service. And quite frankly, we're committed to doing that. There are funds available and a process available to ensure that our soldiers aren't left out and have to pay for these things on their own.
United States Army Garrison Mannheim Commander Lieutenant Colonel Lisa Griffin. Colonel Griffin, were you surprised by anything you heard at the town hall meeting, or you said, I knew them all, I had it all back? Any surprises for you?
No, George. I think we hold town hall meetings regularly in Mannheim, so it was a very comfortable forum. A lot of the community members and community leaders were present, and change is no stranger to Mannheim. We've seen inactivations and unit movements in the past 18 months, and we'll see more of it in the future. So I think we're well postured for the change that's to come. And again, this isn't new to our community. We've done it with 5th Signal Command up to Wiesbaden, 44th Signal Battalion to Schweinfurt, recently inactivated the 28th Trans Battalion. So we've undergone a lot of change in Mannheim in the last 18 months, and I think we do it well, and we'll continue to do it well in the future.
Army's getting really experienced and good at moving people and closing installations, it seems. Bruce, the big one for me is, why now? Why close the Mannheim and Heidelberg communities now? The rumors have been around for quite a while. Why now?
Sure. We've been talking about doing this move for a while. It's been rumored. Bottom line, the reason to make the announcement now is we've got approval now, and we've got funding now to do the consolidation. And remember, this is about mostly about consolidating the headquarters, the USAREUR headquarters in Wiesbaden, so that the commander has all of the command assets close so that they can work with each other. We've got partial appropriation for funds for building the facility that we need in Wiesbaden. And bottom line is we've got approval to do it, so now we're doing it.
Bruce Anderson, USAREUR Public Affairs. One of the big reasons we have this show is to see what you think. What are your questions? You can give us a call. It sounds like they're all polished and professional, and this was recorded weeks ago, but the truth is they're in the studio live right now, and they're going to take your questions one by one if you have them. The number to call, DSN 389-4595. Again, that number, DSN 389-4595. Civilian phone number, 0621-46085-595. And we're streaming this show live on the internet, so you can go to afneurope.net, click on it, and you don't like that scratchy AM kind of sound, well, listen to us streaming on the internet. All sorts of ways to listen in. We do have a question here that came in, and I believe from our producer. Yes, Brian from Heidelberg's on the line with a question.
Hi, this is Brian in Heidelberg. When can we expect to begin moving out of the housing areas in Heidelberg and Mannheim?
Clear, concise, to the point. Colonel Butcher?
Yeah, Brian, thanks for your question. I think it's an important one. Families living on post will be impacted when units depart, not because housing areas are shutting down. The reduction in housing areas will be through attrition. So we will leave some areas vacant once the tenants have moved in order to save money on utilities, but we will not force anyone to move to another housing area within our community during this process.
Okay. Next up, we have someone on the line from Mannheim, David, a question about children.
Hello, this is David in Mannheim. I was wondering how the closing is going to affect students in the middle of the school year, and when should parents start registering their kids at other schools?
I imagine that question's hot on a lot of parents' minds. What about the kids? What about the schools? United States Army Garrison Mannheim Commander Lieutenant Colonel Lisa Griffin, can you take that one, please?
Yes, absolutely. Last school year, we saw about 1,100 children in our schools. We've got 3 in the Mannheim community, the elementary school, the middle school, and the high school. And in coordination with Dodds Europe, we're committed to keeping those 3 schools open for school year 10-11. So school starts August 30th this year. If you're a Mannheim resident, you should certainly go ahead and register your children in the Mannheim area schools so they can start school this fall. We also know, in close coordination with Dodds Europe, that in the out years, based on unit movements, we will close the Mannheim Middle School and High School in school year 11-12. The population simply isn't expected to be there to support those 2 schools in our community. On a positive note, the elementary school will transition to a K-8. So children ages K-8 will continue to get educated in Mannheim Elementary School for years to come, and high schoolers will transition to the Heidelberg High School in school year 11-12, and we'll work through those busing plans now. In terms of what happens midterm, if soldiers or units are moving out in the month of January, February timeframe, certainly we'll address those issues on a case-by-case basis, depending on the soldier's orders. The family may be allowed to remain in Mannheim, where the children can finish out the school year, and the soldier goes where his orders tell him to go. But again, that'll be based on individual soldier orders or unit orders, which have yet to be published.
We got an emailed question. You can also email us your questions at Open Line, one word, at afn.dma.mil. This is related to the school question that you just answered, Colonel Griffin. It's a very specific one. Based on the current soldier and dependent population for Heidelberg, what will be, in your best estimate, the percent of population remaining for the school year 2013-14? And saying, give me a ballpark, 50%, 30%? Anyone want to field that one? Or is it hard to say? Colonel Butcher?
Well, I'll field it first here. I think it's too early to tell. I still think that there are a lot of things that have to transpire between now and the school year 13-14 that would give us some sense of best ballpark estimate for the amount of population remaining in the Heidelberg community. So what I would advise our listeners out there is to just stay informed, keep aggressively pursuing us on these issues, and we'll certainly keep you informed in coordination with Dodds to make sure that you can make sound decisions.
Baden-Württemberg Garrison Commander Colonel Bill Butcher. Colonel Butcher, this person, Lawrence is his name, has a follow-on question, and that question is it true that there won't be any school open for school year 2014-15 for Heidelberg and Mannheim? And I think he wants you to dig out your crystal ball and do some forecasting here.
Well, Lawrence, in my discussions with the school superintendent, certainly we have had no discussions about when school closures in the Heidelberg community will occur.
So let's stay tuned to AFN and you get more details. That's always the best place to go for current information next to the commander direct to the troops. AFN, choice number 2. Got to get in my plug there, Colonel Butcher.
No, outstanding.
Okay. We have another question, and this one is a different subject. This is from Heidi in Seckenheim. Heidi?
Hi, this is Heidi from Seckenheim. Is there anything the Army is doing to help local national workers find jobs in the government after Mannheim and Heidelberg close?
Now, I detect a bit of a German accent there, so I think it's a very personal and dear question to her heart. The question is a big one here because really when it comes to moving installations or closing installations, it affects our local national employees in a very direct way. What is the Army going to do to help local nationals? Colonel Griffin?
Yeah, in the Mannheim area on the 28th of this month, 28 July at 0830, in Building 725, we've set up a local national information brief. The CPAC team out of Heidelberg will come down and provide an information briefing to all of our local national employees who will be allowed to leave work to attend that briefing and get the answers they're looking for, reference their current position or any future positions that they desire to continue to serve in.
Mannheim Garrison Commander Lieutenant Colonel Lisa Griffin. Chris on the line from Heidelberg. Chris.
Hello, this is Chris in Heidelberg. I'm going to PCS in a few months after my unit is scheduled to move. Will I have to move to a new community just to leave again? How is out processing going to work?
And that particular question was pre-recorded from one of our stations. We had our disc jockeys ask folks in advance of this show if they had questions, and that was pre-recorded and brought in for this program. But the answer, what happens during out processing? Lieutenant Colonel Griffin?
I think here, George, I'd like to use the example of 44th Signal Battalion that was headquartered in Mannheim up until last summer and moved to Schweinfurt. Some of the soldiers did not complete that move to Schweinfurt because they were either pending PCS or ETS orders. So they stayed in the Mannheim community and followed their own individual orders, whereas the majority of the unit traveled to Schweinfurt. So again, a case-by-case basis that we can address in a separate forum.
Back to the phone lines, and here's a question from someone who's been patiently waiting, Frankie. Hello, Frankie. How are you? Let's see if our producers can bring Frankie online here. I guess he was patiently waiting for too long. Frankie, please give our producers a call back, and we'll do our best to get that question on the air and answered. Here's an emailed question from Robert Cates. And Robert is very impassioned when he talks here, but I'll just try to pass on what he had to say. It's, I'd like to know what really happened to bring on the decision to completely close down the Heidelberg community in particular. There's been talk for some years about this, and he gives me about 2 paragraphs, but basically the substance of the question is, what really happened here? Because before there was talk of Heidelberg would stay. Now Heidelberg is going away. And you've answered this a bit already, Bruce, but Bruce from Public Affairs, USAREUR, answer that one.
Right, okay. The bottom line, the reason that we're moving to Wiesbaden is because we want to consolidate the headquarters. We want to have the intelligence function, the signal function, and all of the other headquarters functions that the commander needs right there together, so that the staff officers can talk to each other without having to do some sort of teleconference, so that the coordination process works better, and so the commander has the information directly at hand that he needs to make decisions. When our experts looked across what was available in Europe, the place that made the most sense based on a lot of factors about space, etc., was Wiesbaden. That's why we're moving to Wiesbaden. I can't talk to any kind of agreements or disagreements between U.S. forces personnel and host nation officials. That process just isn't something that applies here. The reason we're moving to Wiesbaden is because Wiesbaden is the logical choice based on what's available in Europe to consolidate the headquarters.
Bruce Anderson, USAREUR Public Affairs. Frankie's back. We're going to try him again. Frankie, are you there? Frankie? Frankie, are you with us?
Oh, yes, I am.
Was I talking too long? Did I put you to sleep?
No, not at all.
Oh, that's good. What's your question?
Okay, I got 2 questions. One, what is the exact progression of breakdown? Does it start with active duty, breaking down, then the housing and the families taken care of, then the support elements such as the PX, the commissary, and then the post itself? What is the actual chronological proceeding for a breakdown in the community?
Well, I think I got the question, Frankie. I think we can give you the highlights, but if we give you the whole chronological breakdown, I think it would fill in the rest of the show.
Okay.
But Colonel Butcher, where's a good place for Frankie to go to get all that detailed information?
Well, Frankie, you can certainly go to the Transformation website on both USAG Baden-Württemberg and USAG Mannheim home pages. I will tell you that, in terms of impact, there's about, in total, by FY15, about 2,400 soldiers, about 2,100 civilian employees, which equals to about 6,500 family members or so, will decrease across our footprint here in Mannheim and Heidelberg. Now, it's really difficult to tell you how that sequences because, as you well know, that depends on the inactivation and quite frankly, the movement of units.
Okay, so it does start with active duty, active military units being directed as far as breaking down or being sent back to other locations. That's where it all began.
You're absolutely correct. It is predicated on the size of unit that departs, and then quite frankly, that gives us what that population figure is at that given time.
Okay, my second question was the rumors will always be around, but I heard even after the year 2015, there will be some element of a military activity or organization within the Heidelberg and Mannheim community. Is that a fact, as far as you know?
Well, that is in fact true. That's correct. You know, we have Germersheim Army Depot that will remain and will fall under the U.S. Army Garrison Kaiserslautern responsibilities, as well as our great bakery out in Grunstadt that provides all the baked goods across USAREUR and Culligan Water. So those will remain. They'll go up under U.S. Army Garrison Kaiserslautern, and they'll continue their same great service to our community.
Okay, so they're more or less controlled by, but physically located here, controlled by K-Town community.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Frankie.
Okay, all right, thank you very much,
Hey,
sir.
Appreciate your questions.
Okay, have a nice day.
You too.
Thanks for calling, Frankie. Tiffany, next up on the show. Tiffany is from Heidelberg. Hello, Tiffany. Hi, Tiffany. Your question, please, for our guests.
Yes, I was curious about, I'd heard that it's a possibility that there could be a central location for MPs here in Heidelberg in the future. Is it possible that there'll still be some maybe families as far as MPs staying in this area?
Tiffany, let me take that just a second. I'm Colonel Butcher. Listen, there is absolutely no plan at present for military police units to remain in Heidelberg after 2015.
Okay. Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for calling, Tiffany. Appreciate it. If you'd like to have your question answered, DSN 389-4595 is the number to call. Again, DSN 389-4595. Civilian phone 0621-460-85595. You can also listen to us streaming live right now on the internet, afneurope.net. Go there and you'll find out where we are. Email a question, openline@afn.dma.mil. Our job, just talk to you a little bit about the closures of installations in Mannheim and Heidelberg, what it means to you. And some of these folks are going to Wiesbaden and the Kaiserslautern military community, so there's an impact on those communities in the future also. So here's 2 emailed questions. Let's go to the first one, and this one is, if DOD's facilities close in the Heidelberg-Mannheim communities, and there are still people, soldiers or civilians, still here remaining, where will their children go to school? Who wants to field that one? Colonel Butcher?
Yeah, I'll field that. You know, I've had great discussions with our DOD's professionals, and quite frankly, they're as committed, or more committed in many cases, to our children as we are, the education of our children. And I can assure you that there will be a plan in place if there are remaining children in our community to make sure that they get the appropriate education.
There's a question about the prison. What will happen with the correctional facility? Is that affected by the transformation of the closure in any way, shape, or form, and the people that work there?
Certainly, I'll take that. In the announcement that was made on June 23rd, we did say that the confinement facility will move to Sembach. And I can look for exactly when, but the plan is to move that facility to Sembach. But one other thing I'd like to say is it's not a prison. It's a temporary holding facility. The word prison gets thrown around a lot. But
I'm glad you corrected me on that, because the AFN Europe commander's an MP, and he would counsel me on that if you had not taken immediate corrective action. I appreciate that very much. Coming up on 9:30 Central European Time. Emailed question, this one from James. James says, what is your estimate on the closure for the Mannheim main exchange?
I'll take that one, George. We work very closely with the AFES leadership that oversees the Stuttgart, Heidelberg, and Mannheim areas, and they continually are evaluating their retail, food, and service operations based on population. We have not set a hard and fast date for the closure of the Mannheim main exchange, but we are constantly talking to the AFES leadership team to evaluate what's available in Heidelberg, which is just 25 minutes down the road, and what's available in Mannheim, so we can provide the best service to soldiers, families, and civilians. But we have not set a hard and fast date for the Mannheim main exchange store yet. It'll be population driven.
George, I really like what Lisa said there too, because this is a we issue. AFES doesn't make any moves in our communities without ensuring that the garrison, and particularly the garrison commander, is involved in those decisions. They make no decisions in a vacuum, and we appreciate their service and certainly keeping us in that decision loop. Also, one of the things that AFES is certainly committed to do as we reduce services is to look towards consolidation. So a great example is in the Mannheim community now, where we had 2 shopettes. We had to reduce one shopette, but they've increased the items in there, increased the service, so there was no degradation in what was available to the community.
Question here about GS and local national employees. Do GS and local national employees from Mannheim and Heidelberg get job hiring preference for other positions in Germany? Colonel Griffin, you want to take that one?
I think I'm going to defer to the experts at CPAC, who again will be in Mannheim tomorrow, the 22nd of July at 10 o'clock, to specifically address U.S. appropriated fund employees, and then again on the 28th of July at 8:30 to talk to our local national workforce, because we've got three different workforces in our communities, AF, NAF, and local national, and each are a little bit different, and CPAC provides that expertise. So I really encourage all the listeners to please come to those briefings, and they'll be allowed the time away from work to attend the briefings, and that's where they can get those answers.
Call us, DSN 389-4595, DSN 389-4595. We're talking about the closure of some installations in Mannheim and Heidelberg. We mentioned that it also will have an impact eventually on some of the other communities. We have a person from the Kaiserslautern community with a question, and I believe she's from Ramstein.
Hi, my name is Angel Arnold. I'm calling from Ramstein, and my question is, once everybody moves, how will this affect the already overpopulated schools that we have down in this area?
Question from Angel. Colonel Butcher?
Yeah, Angel, thanks for the question. I think it's a really important one. As you know, the Kaiserslautern community will increase in population based off the moves from both Mannheim, Heidelberg, and elsewhere. What I will assure you of is that both Dodds, the garrison, and our MCOM region leadership are committed to ensuring that that the schools available support the population. And quite frankly, you probably know, Angel, that there's a great high school that's being built presently in the Kaiserslautern community, and it's not being built for the population of today. It's being built for the population of the future in Kaiserslautern community, as well as future builds, schools construction, that will be ongoing in the Kaiserslautern community to support both elementary and middle schools.
Another question from the Kaiserslautern area, and this one's from Fred.
Hi, my name is Fred Ross, and I'm calling from the KMC area. My question is after the transition, is the Army going to take over the Simbach area?
Colonel Butcher, want to take that one too?
Sure, I can take that, Fred. Yes, in fact, the Army, U.S. Army Garrison Kaiserslautern, will assume responsibilities for Simbach on 1 October of this year. That is a process that's been in development for about 6 months or so, where we have an inter-service agreement with our great Air Force partners. They've been supporting us in Simbach with the units that are there presently, the Army units that are there presently, and we'll do the same thing for them on 1 October of this year when we assume responsibility for Simbach.
When the Army takes over for the Air Force, or vice versa, for the average person listening right now, I mean, why should they care?
Well, George, maybe they shouldn't, because quite frankly, we're all dedicated to supporting our service members and their family members, and quite frankly, I don't believe there's a great difference in the type of services that we provide and our zeal for that support.
You're listening to an open line on the installation closures coming up in Mannheim and Heidelberg. It does impact areas like the Kaiserslautern military community and also has an impact on Wiesbaden Army Airfield. We have a call here from Sue, and she happens to come from Wiesbaden Army Airfield. At least that's where she's calling in from. Sue?
Hi, my name is Sue, and I'm from Wiesbaden. My question is about housing. In Wiesbaden, there are a lot of new houses being built. Are they all going to go to new people, or will we here already in Wiesbaden get a chance to move into new houses?
Well, that's a kind of interesting question. Does all the new housing go to the new people? Can anyone answer that one? I know that you're all from the garrison here in Heidelberg, Mannheim, but
go ahead. Well, let me just give a plug for my partner in Wiesbaden, Colonel Jeff Dill, who's the great garrison commander there in the Wiesbaden community. I know that he can answer this question more effectively than we can, and I would advise the listener to contact U.S. Army Garrison Wiesbaden for that answer.
And I'll ask our producers to take down that name and number, and we can get that question answered by Colonel Dill. And here's another question from Wiesbaden.
Hi, this is Karen from Wiesbaden. Will the relocation of people from Mannheim and Heidelberg affect the way AFES provides service to us? You know, like a new PX?
A new PX? Rising inflection in the voice. It sounds like they're hoping to get a new PX in Wiesbaden. I don't know about that. Maybe I was reading into that question a little bit. Bruce, do you want to take that one?
I don't know if there are any plans to build a new PX in Wiesbaden. We'd have to look into that and let you know. But what I do know is that with the 1st Armored Division headquarters and associated units leaving Wiesbaden and our headquarters moving in and associated units moving in, the population is going to be about the same. It's going to be just a little bit more, but it's going to be about the same. So as far as the facilities needed, quantity-wise, there shouldn't be much of a difference. And again, I don't have any information about new PX in Wiesbaden.
Okay. The number to call, DSN 389-4595, civilian 0621-460-85595. An emailed question: has the additional cost of housing been figured into the savings resulting from the closure of Heidelberg-Mannheim, with much of the relocation occurring to Wiesbaden? According to the State Department website, the mid-range housing allowance in Mannheim-Heidelberg is $35,600 a year, while it's $51,900 in Wiesbaden. That's an increase of $16,300 per employee per year. So the general gist, there's more in this particular email, but the general gist is, hey, it costs more to live in Wiesbaden than it does in Heidelberg-Mannheim, and that's a negative thing as far as cost savings. Bruce Anderson, USAREUR Public Affairs, was this considered?
That's a good question, an interesting question, and I don't know. I'll have to ask our experts exactly what all was factored into the decision-making process and the cost factors, and we'll get back to...
This is J. Michael Haas.
Mm-hmm.
I have all your contact information here, J. Michael, and I'm going to pass that on to my colleague here, Bruce Anderson, and there it is, Bruce.
Well, thank you.
So we'll... an action passed is an action completed. Thank you very much. But we'll get you an answer to that very specific question. And I have a note from my producer that Billy, via the web, has a question about family moving out and the timeline. Hi, Billy.
Hi, how are you?
Are you listening on the web?
Well, yes, I am.
Oh, so you're listening to our live streaming open line on the web. That's wonderful.
Yes.
How's it sound?
Sounds really good.
Do you like it better than listening to AM radio?
Yeah, because I don't got the radio in the house.
Oh, well, we're glad to serve. This is exciting for us. We just started putting our open line on the web, streaming several months ago. It's nice to hear that someone's listening. Your question, please.
My question is when will they start moving the families out of Mannheim, and what time frame do they have to have, like, all the families removed from Mannheim?
Okay. Well, stay tuned. We have an answer, and that's Lieutenant Colonel Griffin, the Mannheim Garrison Commander, with an answer or answers for you.
Okay.
Yeah, good morning, Billy. In the message, the Benjamin Franklin Village housing area, which is the only place where our families are housed in Mannheim, isn't scheduled to close until 2014. So for all of our families that are currently in BFV, they'll get a full tour there in the housing that we provide them in the community.
Okay. And the only other question, ma'am, is the school, it's not going to close anytime soon, the high school, correct?
No, the high school will remain open this fall, and then our high school students will be bused to Heidelberg in school year 11-12. So Dodds is forecasting the closure of the high school, not this fall, but the following school year.
Okay, that's all I wanted to find out. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, have a great day, Billy.
You too.
Thanks for calling. 9:42 Central European Time. You're listening to Open Line. Question here on, and this is for you, Colonel Griffin, and what will happen to religious services as the population decreases over the next year? Can you answer that one or not?
Absolutely. We have a fantastic religious services office now headed up by Chaplain Steve Roberts, who's doing a fantastic job, and he works very closely with the USAG Baden-Württemberg chaplain team headed by Lieutenant Colonel Prevotable Chaplain Brainerd. So the two of them are talking constantly about what our communities need in the area of religious support, and what we have in the Mannheim area today will continue through the next year, and then we may see some changes as populations decrease. And we're committed to providing the religious services there in our community as long as the service members and their families are coming to the chapel. The chapel will continue to run. So it's very important to us, and I don't see big sweeping changes anytime in the next year.
We have about roughly 17 minutes left on this open line show. You can still have your question answered live by the experts by calling DSN 389-4595, civilian 0621-46085-595. Email openline, one word, at afn.dma.mil. And you may also listen to us streaming live on the internet. Go to afneurope.net and click on it there and listen in. A question here about the PX, shopettes and PXs in particular, and this one is, how long will the PX continue to have new merchandise, and when will community members have to start heading to other surrounding military communities for exchange services? The general gist of this one is they got it. These facilities are going to stay open for a while, but they're wondering, well, when does the new stuff stop coming in? Colonel Butcher?
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that any changes, hours, closure, merchandise, are communicated and coordinated through the garrison commander. We have a commitment from Frank Nicole, general manager, to ensure that we provide the same level of service, that they provide the same level of service that they've been providing previously. And more importantly, the community will remain engaged in this. You know, merchandise and what's stocked certainly comes from our community members. So we're committed to them. AFES is committed to them. We'll continue to do the right things.
Colonel Bill Butcher, Baden-Württemberg Garrison Commander. Here's, I think, one of my more unusual questions of the day. This one was emailed from Anthony, and Anthony says, there's a lot of work that goes into a closure of a post. I would like to be able to assist in the closure of the posts in Mannheim, Heidelberg. How do I get on the team that is doing the impossible task of getting the posts ready to turn over to the host nation? There's not a resume attached here, but Anthony says he's capable and he wants to work for you. Who wants him? Colonel Griffin says yes. Are you willing to work for free? That's her first question.
Yeah. No, this is a great question, and I think I know who Anthony is, and I wasn't aware that he also has a Lean Six Sigma black belt in his credential file. So, Anthony, we need to talk. Of course, in a closing, non-enduring community, we've got some challenges. Only allowed to hire temps and terms, but the team is shaping up, and we definitely need to talk, and we'll address that separately.
Well, that's some exciting news. So you do have some jobs available, some temporary jobs, perhaps.
Well, I think, I don't want to get off message here. Mannheim is closing, but the United States Army Garrison Baden-Württemberg will provide that leadership and support to our community in the out years, and the last families likely won't leave Mannheim until 2014 when Benjamin Franklin Village closes. So plenty of work to be done, and it is tough to turn things over to the host nation, as we found out with Friedrichsfeld, which we're in the process of turning over, as well as the Class 3 point right outside Coleman Barracks here. So definitely need qualified people to do that hard work.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Griffin, Mannheim Garrison Commander. Back to the phone lines. Want to get them all in before the end of the program here. Donald from K-Town. Hi, Donald.
Phone lines want to get them all in before the end of the program.
Oh, Donald, I just heard myself. I'll tell you what, turn down your radio and this will be a lot easier. I like to hear myself talk, but not that much. Okay, Donald, your question, please.
Yeah, my question is, how will this closure in the Heidelberg, Mannheim area affect the population growth here in Kaiserslautern?
Okay, a good question. Stay listening, and we'll give you that answer. You can hear us over the phone. You don't have to turn up your radio. Bruce, do you want to take that one?
Sure, I can talk to that a little bit. In the announcement that we made on June 23rd, there were several units that were designated to be moving to the Kaiserslautern area with no specific installation. And the reason for that is our experts are looking at the best place to put people based on a number of factors, including is there office space available, is there living space available, and does it make sense to put that many people in that place. So the thought process is we haven't identified specific installations yet for some of these units because we're looking exactly at those kind of things.
Okay. But the Army's done this. The Army is very good at it. The military is very good at this. So there is a plan, and it's in place. Are you from the Kaiserslautern community yourself?
Yes, I am. I just, we're known as the largest group of Americans outside of the United States, so you just kind of wonder how much more that will grow with these closures and things and consolidations that's going on.
Yeah, what I'd tell you as well is that this Colonel Butcher, Lieutenant Colonel Kevin Hutchison there, the garrison commander in Kaiserslautern, is engaged with this transformation every day. And what I would invite you to do is certainly to communicate to Colonel Hutchison and his team there in Kaiserslautern if you have concerns for overcrowding. But they're committed to you, as is our Air Force partners committed to you. And as Bruce said earlier, I think we've got this right, and we'll continue to keep you informed along the way.
Thanks.
Thank you for calling. We have another person on the line, Specialist Tressler. Hi, Specialist Tressler. What's your first name?
Jesse.
Hi, Jesse. Your question, please.
Roger. My question was about the Mannheim prison, the detention facility there. What is the status on that? Is that going to close? Are there plans of building another one in a different location? And the civilians that currently work there, what is the plans for them?
Okay, well, Bruce is going to tell you the correct way to refer to that facility. I learned something in the show, and he's going to share that. But, Bruce, would you take that one, please? Bruce Anderson, he's from Youth for Public Affairs Office.
Specialist Tressler, did I see correctly that you're currently in Afghanistan?
Yes, I'm currently deployed here with the 630th Military Police Company.
Well, thank you for your service there. It's very important, and we're all appreciative of that. To answer your question, the correction facility is going to move in fiscal year 13 to Sembach. Exactly what will happen with the soldiers and the employees, that will be worked out in the process on a case-by-case basis, depending on the structure that the facility needs when it's there. It's too early to tell exactly what that structure will be.
Specialist Tressler, are you listening on the radio or on the internet, or how exactly are you tuning in the show? Just curious.
Actually, we're watching on the television currently.
Oh, great! That's super. Do you have any other questions for our hosts? Anything else?
No, that's it.
Well, appreciate you taking the time to call us. Specialist Tressler from Afghanistan. First call from outside of Germany for the show. Just let you know we reach out and touch folks in a lot of ways. And question here, obviously a lot of change is occurring right now in Heidelberg and Mannheim. Where can we get updated and detailed information? Colonel Butcher, you want to take that?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, we have a great public affairs office here in U.S. Army Garrison Baden-Württemberg, and they have committed to communicating to our residents and our community on a habitual basis. You can best do that by going to the home pages of U.S. Army Garrison Baden-Württemberg or U.S. Army Garrison Mannheim. Look in the hot topics in the top right-hand section of the main page, and you'll see transformation. Click on transformation, and all the information that we have up to date presently is listed in that location. You can also communicate with us through a variety of means. We invite you to join BW Now or Facebook and send us your questions and concerns and comments relative to closure and transformation on those sites.
There's a question. This person didn't want to go on the air live to ask the question, but it's Art from Mannheim. Art is a retiree. Art is wondering, when the Mannheim and Heidelberg communities go away, what support will be there for retirees? Colonel Griffin, would you take that one, please?
Absolutely. I just want to emphasize that the closure of our communities is a gradual process and happens between now and 2015. So we've got plenty of time to get the word out to our retirees in our communities on where they can turn for information and for services. The four major footprints in Europe are scheduled to be Stuttgart, Wiesbaden, Kaiserslautern, and Grafenwehr. So those four hubs, as described very well by General Smith at our town hall meeting, will become the strategic stance for forces in Europe. So if our retirees focus on those four areas in the out years, they can't go wrong. That's where the center of gravity will be for U.S. forces in Germany between now and 2015.
Lieutenant Colonel Lisa Griffin, Mannheim Garrison Commander. We have a question here about when is USAREUR headquarters moving to Wiesbaden? Is that one a good one for you, Bruce Anderson?
Certainly, absolutely.
Are you moving personally?
I don't know.
We'll talk.
It depends. It depends. I would love to. I always tell people that I very much enjoy serving here in Heidelberg. It's a beautiful place to be. And I've been stationed in Wiesbaden before, and I will enjoy it there if I am allowed to do so. I look forward to that. The USAREUR headquarters is planning to begin its move in fiscal year 12, and that move should be done by October of 2014.
Back to the phone lines. Chris from K-Town. Hello, Chris. Chris, you're live on Open Line. You have a whole room full of experts that want to hear what your question is.
Okay, thanks for taking my question. I'm in the process of retiring. I'm currently living in the Kaiserslautern military community, and I've applied for several jobs in Heidelberg. My question is, if I am hired for one of the jobs in Heidelberg, either USAREUR headquarters or MCOM headquarters, what's the follow-on plan to move me and my family after the Heidelberg community closes?
Okay, well, keep listening. It's a very specific question. We'll see if we can vector you into the right folks. Colonel Butcher.
Yeah, I tell you, what I would say is, most importantly, stay in communication with CPAC. Our professionals in CPAC are our best source of information, and because the question is so specific to your needs, I'd invite you to contact them with that, and I'm certain they can give you the answer. And if they can't, certainly, again, give us your concerns, and we'll get an answer for you.
I'm sorry, sir. Who am I speaking?
This is Colonel Butcher.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Bye.
And are you still on the line?
Yes, I
am. Colonel Griffin, you were mentioning a meeting that's coming up here shortly. He's from Kaiserslautern community, but could he attend that and maybe get some answers too?
He absolutely could. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock is our U.S. Appropriated Fund employee meeting, and that's where you can talk with the CPAC professionals out of Heidelberg. The meeting will be held in the Mannheim community, Building 725 at 10 o'clock tomorrow.
Building 725 on which installation?
That's on Sullivan Barracks and Benjamin Franklin Village, right there in Mannheim.
Okay. Could I have one more question?
Sure. There's no limit.
Okay,
Until it's news time at 10, then there's a limit. But go ahead.
University of Maryland headquarters in Heidelberg. Do you have any timeline on when that's going to close, and do you know where it will be moved?
University of Maryland is currently housed at Patton Barracks. Patton Barracks is on the installation closure list no later than 2015, and I know they're committed to stay there as long as they can to support soldiers, civilians, and family members. So I wouldn't expect it any sooner than the Patton Barracks closure.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks for your call.
Thank you.
Colonel Bill Butcher, the Baden-Württemberg garrison
mouthful,
commander.
Huh?
It is. BW just doesn't work, though, sir.
Yeah, that's right.
Colonel Bill Butcher, and also with us we have the Mannheim garrison commander, Lieutenant Colonel Lisa Griffin. We have time for one, maybe two more phone calls. Lacey, your question, please. Hi, Lacey. There was a little delay there, but we have time for your question. What would you like to ask us?
I wanted to ask, they have a slightly different assortment in the commissary in Heidelberg and in the bookshop also than in Wiesbaden. And I consider the assortment in Heidelberg somewhat better. And also in Heidelberg they have a wonderful thrift shop. So will the move eventually positively affect the assortment in the Wiesbaden commissary and bookshop?
So I'd sum it up by what you're saying is that you think the assortment could be better
yes.
in Wiesbaden?
Yeah.
Okay, well that sounds like a question that's very specific for the PX folks, I believe. But Colonel Butcher, would you answer that one?
Yeah, I think I can at least provide some sense of an answer to this. I mean, obviously, your needs, our community's needs, are important to all of us in this business, whether it's Heidelberg or Wiesbaden or elsewhere. What I would invite you to do is to both communicate what your needs are to that community upon when this affects you, certainly, and if it affects you. And I'd also like to tell you that our USAREUR headquarters is engaged in this whole movement to Wiesbaden as much as anybody, in fact more. And they're not only looking at it from the perspective of moving the USAREUR headquarters, but how it impacts schools, how it impacts AFES and DECA, and so I assure you that we're thinking of your needs as we go through this transition.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for calling.
You're welcome.
We have Daryl on the line with a question about the historic room at the Heidelberg Heidelberg Hospital. We have very little time to answer that. Daryl, can we answer this one right now, Colonel Butcher?
Yeah, I tell you, the Patton Room. I'm certain we're committed to making sure we maintain the legacy.
Roger that, sir. Also, the Colonel Griffin did say that they're going to have an AF brief here in Mannheim for the AF civilians. I haven't heard anything about the NAF civilians when we get briefed about them.
What I'm going to have to do is jump in and say, please hold on. Our producer's going to take your name, and Colonel Butcher, Colonel Griffin can give you that answer. We have to make room for news right now.
Roger
okay?
that. Roger
please
that.
stay on the line, though.
Okay, thank you.
Colonel Butcher, quick last comment on the show, or anyone listening out there where they should go for more information.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing to say.
I appreciate that. We certainly invite you to our website. We'll keep in constant communication with you, and we appreciate what AFN does for us. I want to just say thank you to you and AFN. I also want to give a quick shout out to TAC 2 of the IJC that's deploying out today from Heidelberg in support of the mission in Afghanistan. God bless you guys.